You comparing yourself to others in every way is killing your chances of success. See, this is something I struggle with a lot. Using using comparison to try to make judgments or figure out status has caused me to really have a hard time with accepting potentially where I could have been, or accepting, how well my path has been, or really allowing myself to move forward. See, what we do when we compare ourselves to somebody else is we look outward and we say, well, look at that person. They're driving that fancy car, or they're wearing those terrific shoes, or they're carrying that very expensive backpack. They just got back from this terrific trip that they went somewhere for 14 days, or they live in this house. Any way that you can compare yourself, your job, your material possessions to someone else, then starts to devalue the 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 things that you have worked for, or the position you have put yourself into. And I really think what it does is it stops you from seeing a how far you've come, and b where you could actually improve. So there's nothing beneficial with you comparing yourself to somebody else. You don't know what their situation is. You don't know how they got there. Uh, did this person it just hit the lottery when it comes to their mental capacity and their genius level, and they can skirt through school and they can get themselves this high level job, which then gets them into a really high paying career? Did they have family money, right? And that got them along further in life. So you look at it. Are they actually truly, like most people, in mounds and mounds of debt, owe so much money that they have trouble, doing the maintenance on the car, that fancy car that you see them driving? Or that house that they live in, they're so house poor that they can't maintain it. They can't do anything. And then in return, if you've put yourself in that position to where, or a position to where you feel you've done it the right way, and you're not struggling, but you feel that there's a next step that you could get to, but you just can't figure it out. Comparing yourself to somebody else will stop you from figuring that out. And the reason is because you're going to spend so much time trying to figure out how they got there that you're not going to figure out how you can get to the next level of whatever you find that next level to be important. Is it important for you to advance in your current career? If you start comparing yourself to other people that are working in your office, you're going to see that, instead of you advancing yourself to be able to take on more responsibility, if that's what you want, you're going to be so consumed with what they're doing that it's going to start affecting that. Are you comparing yourself to a relationship you see? Maybe you see somebody that looks like they have a really great relationship. They're married and they always look like they're having a good time. But we all don't know what happens when the door closes. So as you are looking around and you're trying to figure out, how are they doing it, or how are they so successful, or how are they so happy? What if you stopped and you started comparing yourself to your future self? right? What if you actually sat down and said, okay, how do I want my future to look? And how does it compare to the present that I have? Looking at your past doesn't add a lot of benefit. It's a good barometer to say, okay, this is sort of where I was, and this is where I don't want to be anymore. But what if you were to consciously sit down and figure out how to, devise a future that you could implement now, and then in 6 months compare where you were, right? Do some healthy comparison. Keep the comparison internal. And then, imagine you sat down and wrote out a future that said, I'm going to work out 5 days a week and I'm going to lose 30 pounds. And then you started after that vision. You started after that future that you put together. And in 6 months, you then compared yourself. Maybe even take a picture when you start of yourself, and then in 6 months, take another picture and put them side by side and compare them and do healthy comparison. Do a healthy comparison to your finances. Where are you at and what do you need to do to make them look different in a year? And keep track of it. And then do the backwards comparison to where you're at, because you know if you stop today and you compare yourself to the person you were 10 years ago, did you have a plan? Did you have an idea of where you wanted to be? I'm going to guess that most of us didn't. I know I didn't. And if I actually look at myself and say, hey, the Charles Robinson of 2015 is not the Charles Robinson of 2024. That we're coming up on 10 years from that time, and when I look back and say, well, compare now to then, I had no plan. I had no plan of moving forward. And how exactly, can you do healthy comparison if you haven't actually put something consciously together? So when you find yourself, sitting at a stoplight, looking at somebody's car next to you, and it's a car that, you dream of driving. Well, why would you compare yourself or compare your vehicle to theirs when, most of us would drive a high end car to stop at a stoplight and impress people we don't even know. And then we compare ourselves to them, once again, not knowing their situation. Did they win the lottery? You don't know. Or are they so in debt that they literally can't afford to put air in the tires? I mean, that is an unfair comparison, and that is a comparison that's going to cause you to be envious. That's going to cause you to take your eye off the prize. It's going to cause you to, deviate time and energy and effort to a situation that, it it's probably something that wouldn't make you happy in the first place. So if you're finding yourself lost in the comparison game, how about stepping out of it? How about putting something together that is a future that you have set down and wrote out and are now striving to move towards? If you then can do that and use that as a benchmark, then a healthy backwards comparison would be to see where you have gotten to. It's easy to lose sight on, once you start moving forward, how far you actually get when it doesn't feel like you're moving forward. It's easy to lose sight in that. And one thing that kills that all the time is comparing the stages that people are in. As I said, I do it. I got to remind myself not to do it. I have done it consciously, and a lot of unconscious comparison comes into play in my past. And when I see people online and you're looking at their profile, and you always have to remember that it's always over exaggerated. But then when you stop and really pause on the comparison and just pay attention to where you're at, and an effort of reaching out to individuals to ask the question, like, how did you do it? What were the steps that got you there? And then possibly compare what you know or what you don't know to what they say. And if things haven't been working for you, then maybe, just maybe, you're using that comparison to even give you justification for not being further ahead. So, my challenge to you would be, start adopting the idea that you're going to put a future together. Start adopting the idea that you're going to stop comparing yourself to others, and set yourself on a path that when you finally do some backwards comparison and look at where you came from, that you are in the mindset that you can see it. Uh, if, if, if you want to dive deeper and you want to know more, please feel free to reach out. Please feel free to comment. Would love to know what you think. And until we talk again, live life like you mean it.